Well, hi, it's me again, Rob, and I wanted to talk about something. Interestingly enough, in this video series of thoughts on grief and grieving and how to deal with that kind of thing and just some of the different things I've come across, this is the first video I've done of that series, but yet it's not going to be the first one in the series. It's going to be, I don't know where it's going to be. It'll be at some point in it. But I picked a pretty spot out here that I figured would be good to talk about. One of the things I want to talk about is something that actually is kind of a foreign subject to me, and I'm not sure where it fits in with the whole grief thing. With my raggedy pants. I want to talk about fear a little bit. And some of the, the whole series, I guess, is things that I'm going to be dealing with and things that I have come across and different things I've encountered and have had to learn to live with or to figure out. Fear is a different thing for me. I'm not used to being afraid. We're all afraid of something sometimes. I've always been afraid of being afraid. I don't like to be afraid of anything. And so I face scary things and things that I probably should be afraid of. I've done dumb stuff that anybody with any sense wouldn't have done to prove that I'm not afraid of doing it. I've not been afraid of people. I've not been afraid of I'm out in the woods. I've spent lots and lots and lots and lots of time out in the woods, in the wilderness, and places like that, and I'm not afraid of bears, and I'm not afraid of wolves or mountain lions or badgers or wolverines or tambourines or tangerines or anything. And so for me to even admit that I'm afraid of something is a hard thing to do. But I live every day now, and probably will continue to live every day in absolute constant, borderline crazy fear. I have the fear of losing my last daughter. I have one child left now, and she's getting ready to drive, and to let her drive is almost like I'm handing her a death sentence. It messes with my head in ways I can't even begin to tell you. When somebody dies, there are lots of things we go through. We go through that sense of loss and the sense of loneliness and our learning to readjust our lives without that person or those people. When my mom died about, 7 years ago, I guess, 2014. Ella, I always get it mixed up if it's 13 or 14, but my mom died within about a day of or maybe 2 days of Ella's birthday, Ella's 13th birthday, and so that's why I always want to think it was 2013. But 2014, my mom died before my dad. My dad's still alive and kicking and going strong. My dad's 88 years old now, but my mom got lung cancer and it got her quick. And of course we were afraid, for how that was going to go. But when she died, it wasn't, you're afraid of missing your mom. You're afraid of little things like that, but not true fear. It's more of a sadness and a sorrow and that kind of thing. Now I'm sure my dad dealt with fear of how he was going to live his life without the woman he'd been married to for 50 some odd years. I'm not going to do the math in my head right now, but I'm sure he had some fear in that. But when my two daughters got killed, I'd always been a little bit afraid. I guess when I said I've never been afraid, I was always a little bit afraid because I knew that them driving back and forth from Lubbock as much as they did, and especially a lot of those times being later in the evening, that they were higher risk. There was more of a danger in that kind of a thing. But now I'm always afraid. You know, it goes away for a little while, but it's kind of always lingering there in the back of my mind, kind of like that sense of something's wrong. You know, that's something I talk about in another video, where as you start to normalize the way you feel, there's still something in the back of your mind that says something's not right, something's wrong. Well, the same thing with that fear. I get in the middle of doing something, even in a beautiful place like this. You know, I'm surrounded by just the wonder of nature. And yet, in the back of my mind, there's something going, something's wrong. You're not thinking of something, and a lot of times what I'm not thinking of is, where is Sarah? Where's my girl? Is she okay? Is something happening to her? You know, before the accident, I would think about stuff like that, be afraid for my girls, and just think, all right, you know, Rob, it's like any parent. They're always, you know, they're worried something could happen to their kids. You know the possibilities. You know that, you know, as irrational as it may seem, there's things to be afraid of, but they're fine. They're probably okay. I don't think that anymore. My brain does not allow me to think she's fine, don't worry about it, because I now know she might not be fine. How do we deal with that? If you've lost somebody, if you've had something tragic happen, some bad thing happen, then you probably have a sense of the fear that I'm talking about. If you haven't, it's something to be thinking about. That's what this whole series is I guess I'm going to say is going to be about, even though at this point it will have been about. What this series is about is having some idea of what to expect, or if something has happened to you, simply knowing that you're not the only one that's thinking this and feeling this. Sometimes there's power in that, you know. Sometimes when I'm afraid, sometimes when I'm really sad, I come across somebody else that has been through, they haven't been through this. I've met lots of people that have lost a child. They've had one of their children get killed or die or whatever. But there's only one other person I know of who has had two of his children that had died. One of them was stillborn. One of them lived for a month. And so that's as close as anybody that I've met as to what we're going through. But how do you deal with it? How do you deal with being afraid? How do you wrap your mind around something like that? I think what I have to do is figure out a way. I talk about some of the things I've done. I've ridden my mountain bike. I used to do loads of mountain biking around Moab, and there were places where if you slipped, and I'm not exaggerating when I say if you slipped, if you messed up in that little spot, it was anywhere from 900 to 1,200 feet to the bottom, and you didn't get a second chance at that. Rock climbing that I've done, where I didn't use ropes. I was one of those idiots. No, not idiots. I was one of those guys that didn't. When I did rock climbing, when I would climb up the face of a cliff or something bad, did something dangerous, I didn't use ropes. A lot of times I didn't even have the right shoes on. But same kind of thing. If I slipped, there was a pretty good chance I was going to get. I did slip one time, yeah, but I got lucky. I didn't fall but about 20 feet and didn't go the other 300. Thankfully. But those kind of deals, facing my fear, it was me that would suffer for if something went wrong. Now, I can face my fear and just be like, whatever happens, happens. And that's probably what I'm going to have to do, but it's not me that's in the crosshairs of something like that. It's my daughter. It's my only daughter now. My last child. This is one of those I don't know if I have any answers for. But it's something that I deal with. And if it's something you've experienced, if you've experienced that kind of loss, if you're a parent that only has one child left because you had two children, that was my wife's case. The year my wife and I got married, well, within 6 months after my wife and I got married, Happy Hair's sister, Wendy, who my oldest daughter was named after, got killed. Now, there were just 2 children in her family. It was her and Wendy. And so when her sister got killed in a car crash, it left her as an only child. So that means her parents, all of a sudden, had 1 child left, just like us. I thought I was playing it smart. I really did. I honestly thought, okay, here's my minimum number of children is 3. That way, if something happens to one, the other 2 will still have each other to lean on. Didn't work out that way. One more way of showing that no matter what I plan, it seems like it doesn't work right. So if you're somebody, if you're a parent that has lost a child and because you had 2 children and something happened to one, if you feel fear for your other child, that's a real thing. And that's not a small thing. I caught a fly. We're going to feed him to the fish, no offense. There's a little pool right back here that's probably about 3 feet deep where the water eddies out and spins around, and I'd be shocked if there weren't a couple of really good fish down in the bottom of it somewhere hiding off in the shadows. If you feel the fear like I do, and especially if you figured out how to deal with it, I'd love to know. I'd love for you, this is a video series that's done in hopes of helping other people, including me. And if you've got something good to share, I'd love for you to put it in the comments. I'd love to know your thoughts, and I bet other people would too. I don't know what else to say about it right now, but there's lots of different kinds of fear. Sometimes you're afraid for yourself. Sometimes you're afraid for somebody else. Thanks for watching. I hope we can figure out how to deal with some of this together. Learn to face our fears and live with our fears. And I don't even know a good way to wrap this one up. Maybe after I've done 3 or 4 of these, I'll have some clever, smooth way of ending a video and thanking everybody. But for right now, I wish good blessings on all of you. Thanks.